All right, and now the next thing to look at when you're looking at hands is to how to assess the fingers. And it's interesting how the fingers are arranged on the palm. There's the middle finger is always the longest. The index finger and the ring finger are usually about the same length. Sometimes one's longer than the other. And the little finger is, as its name suggests, the smallest finger to be found on the hand. Now that itself tells you about something about the elements. The air element is the least tangible, so we associate the air element with the little finger. The middle finger is the most tangible, it's the biggest finger, so we associate that with the earth element. And the index finger is water. Although it's not as long, it's usually the widest finger, and the ring finger is fire. It's because that's the one that's left. So we have in elemental order water, earth, fire, and air, going like that. Now, when you're looking at the relative strengths of the fingers, the thing to do first of all is to see whether they're long or short. So you place the hand together like that. So I have the fingers all lined up, so you can see whether or not they reach up to these phalanges or not. So that's the thing. That's the trick that you've got to look at there, is get that flat. Don't do it wonkily. Don't do it like slightly curved, because that will distort the apparent lengths of the fingers. You got to get them straight and lined up. And actually, it's better to have them slightly apart to do the measuring. And if you look at that, then you'll get to see what's going on. So the index finger and the ring finger should be about the same length and should come up to about halfway up the top phalange of the middle finger. And as you can probably see just there, my index finger is a little bit longer than my ring finger. And both my index finger and my ring finger come up more than halfway up that phalange, which would be about there. So what that tells you is that my middle finger is actually short. Both of those two fingers are a bit long, but it comes to the same thing, really. But when you compare the two together, it becomes obvious that my ring finger is slightly shorter than my index finger. And that depends. Some people have long index fingers and some people have long ring fingers, and it's very important to notice the difference, because it's a very different type of personality, depending on whether you've got a long index fingered person or a long ring fingered person. And then the little finger should come up to this crease, which is the interphalangeal crease at the top phalange of the air finger, the fire finger, sorry. So the top of that little finger should reach that. And as you can see, in my particular case, my little finger is a little bit long. And if it's not, doesn't have to be very much different to make it long. That's only about 3 millimeters, I think, something like that. And that makes it a long little finger. And similarly, if it's a little bit short, if it's just below that, assuming you haven't actually bent it down, then even a few millimeters can make that finger short, and the significance of that is also noteworthy from that point of view. So again, the measurement of the relative lengths of the fingers is only really easy to see from the live hand. So make a note of that on the handprint when you're taking the handprint. Write down, is it a long index finger or a short index finger? Is it a long ring finger or a short ring finger? Is the middle finger short? Is the air finger long or short? That's all really, really important. And then the next thing to look at is the bends and the leans. And again, the bends and the leans are often difficult to see from a handprint, but much easier to see from the live hand. And you can probably see that my index finger is a little bit bending towards my middle finger. So again, these are things that need to be noted down, whether the fingers are bending in one particular direction or leaning in a particular direction. So write down all the bends and the leans and the twists about the fingers on the piece of paper as well. And equally the setting. I'm not a particularly good example because all my fingers are well set, although my index finger is probably slightly high set. But there should be a nice curve with the earth finger at the highest, the fire and water slightly lower, and the air finger lower again. But sometimes the air finger is very dropped down in its setting, and sometimes the index finger is very high up in its setting. There are extreme variations that can happen, but and those should be noted as well. Usually those will be visible from the print, but it's always a good practice to look at the live hand and assess the balance of the fingers from the live hand itself. So look for the length, the setting, the bends, and the leans. Write those down on your handprint paper, so that information is permanently recorded alongside the handprint itself. And then lastly, of course, have a look at the nails. The nails obviously need to be looked at from the back of the hand and can't be seen from the handprint at all. And the things to look out for the nails are the shape of the nails, whether they're square, spatulate, elongated, or round, and also any discolorations on them or markings on them like pits or ridges, which is all very important medical information. So make sure you write down, have a look at the nails and write down that information as well on the handprint. So when you're taking the handprint, you've got your name and your date of birth, the date the handprint was taken, which hand is dominant, the left hand or the right hand, and the skin texture. That's something else you need to assess as well. Then all the information about the thumb, all the information about the fingers, and all the information about the nails, i.e. all the things about the hand that can't be ascertained from looking at the print, but can only be seen from looking at the hands. You write that down with the handprint information, and you've got it all there for future reference. All right, there you go. Now you know what you need to look for when you're annotating a hand.